To Iowa at Rutgers, Zach. Iowa favored in this one by 2.5. It was 1.5 earlier on Tuesday. Now it is 2.5. I don't feel great about this one at all, either side. I like that Rutgers is at home, and I think that Iowa is coming off, obviously, a better game against UMass, but I'm still not totally confident in the passing attack there. Could be better, but Rutgers has so many issues with injuries in this one right now. Honestly, it's kind of been like last year a little bit. Ian Strong is questionable. CJ Campbell, he's they've got concern about him. Obviously, Tyler Needham talked about him last week. Mikael Johnson, like a number of guys that are questionable, or if not doubtful, in this one. Um, I would feel better about Rutgers if they, if all these guys play, or at least the most impactful ones play.
Hmm.
But there is some concern for Rutgers here. However, like I said, there's some concern about Iowa and their offense and some of that stuff as well. Zach, what are your thoughts?
So Ian Strong being questionable, I think is my biggest concern. Because I think and I've been banging this drum. Rutgers has one of the better and more underrated receiving groups in the country. I've been saying conference, I'm going to say country. And you look at that receiving core: KJ Duff, DT Sheffield. Um, they do have other guys behind Ian Strong that I think are good as well. Ben Black. Um, their tight ends are decent. But like Ian Strong is, I think he's maybe their best receiver. So I think if he doesn't go, that changes things for me.
hmm
But
I mean, it was against Norfolk State he missed though,
yeah,
so like there's the aspect of like kind of what we talked about with Nick Marsh though. Like, does he need to play?
that's the thing. I think Iowa is winnable for Rutgers.
No, no,
It's
no. I'm
at
not saying with Iowa. I'm saying
oh
against Norfolk State,
Norfolk
he didn't
State. Do
need
you
to
need
play.
it? Yeah,
So you don't push him for that.
yeah. I think they play him against Iowa on a Friday night.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And
This is one of Rutgers' biggest games of the season.
yeah. So I think they do that. Iowa, to me, like I think defensively, I think Iowa is every bit as good as they typically are. Right? Like, but they haven't played anybody with a good offense. Like Iowa State's the best offense they've played. And Iowa State, I am very skeptical about Iowa State. Like Iowa State's wins are against Kansas State and Ireland. Kansas State stinks. They beat South Dakota. They stink. And then they barely beat Arkansas State, who stinks. So the best offense that Iowa has played is Iowa State. And aside from playing South Dakota, they've not been able to score more than 24. Like I think Rutgers might be the best offense that they've played.
Certainly with Raymond running the way he has, I mean, he's been one of the better running backs, kind of underrated running backs in the Big Ten so far this season. I mean, and the offensive line for Rutgers does have some injuries, like I said with other stuff. And I mean, that's the hardest thing, right? Is because this Iowa defensive line and offensive line are nasty.
Yes.
So I I don't know. I think Rutgers is going to put up a ton of points though. I see some people in the chat saying, like 16-10, 17-13 type of game. I don't think so. I think Rutgers puts up 20, 20 plus, maybe even gets into the 30 range. Because I think Kallie McManus has played well enough, and I think those wide
Yep.
receivers are good enough. And I think, honestly, Raymond's been a good back. I mean,
Yeah. The offensive lines play better than I expected, too.
yeah, I
And
mean,
now, granted, they haven't played. Rutgers has not played. Oh, well, they
they've
played
not played any
Ohio.
defensive lines anywhere near Iowa. Iowa has
Yeah.
one of the best defensive lines in the Big Ten.
Yeah. But, like, let's give credit, though. They beat Ohio. Ohio's not bad. And I mean, they scored 34 on them. So,
Yeah.
and people might say yes, but they only won by 3. Iowa doesn't have anything offensively that scares you. Like Parker Navarro scares you.
I mean,
Ohio
they
has
got 3 good running backs.
good running backs.
Patterson, what's the stat here? I just had it. Patterson, Moulton, and McNeil. I think his name's McNeil. They all average 5.4 yards per carry or more.
That's fair, and that'll kill you if they cannot get Iowa off the field.
Patterson, McNeil, and Williams. I apologize. That was the third
Yeah.
one I was looking for. Williams. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, if they can't get Iowa off the field, the running game off the field, then I think you run into problems. But I'm not convinced. See, this is where, again, Iowa State, they only scored 13, and they could not throw the ball. UMass, they got the passing game going. UMass allowed 42 to Temple. They allowed 27 to Bryant. So I like whatever offensive explosion that we saw from Iowa, it's a mirage.
Now, Zach, are you disparaging the fact that Mark Gronowski has doubled his passing yards in every game this season?
Yes. Unequivocally.
He threw for 179 passing yards. If this trend continues, that means he will throw for 360 passing yards in this game.
I'm not sure he's going to throw for 360 yards this season. And I know what that means. So I'm being deliberately ornery.
Yeah.
I do think we've been harsh on Gronowski. I have led that charge happily. But I think the point remains. I think UMass is more of an aberration than it is the norm. Like, I think if people are expecting that Iowa's going to score a ton of points because all of a sudden they had over 40 against UMass, I think they're very much mistaken.
So what are your thoughts on Gronowski's running ability? Because Navarro ran all over Rutgers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what are your thoughts on Gronowski with that? I don't know if Gronowski needs to throw a whole lot to win this game. The safety play for Rutgers was not great, and the linebackers couldn't track Navarro. They were spying him, and they still couldn't track him down. I think Navarro probably has some better scrambling ability than what I've seen from Gronowski. But Gronowski's still, dangerous with his legs.
Yeah.
So to me, this is a big part of this game if Rutgers is able to correct the issue they had against Ohio in the second half, where Navarro was just kind of running freely all around.
Yeah, and that's a good. I think Navarro is more shifty. I feel like Gronowski's effective. I don't think he's you're not scared of him, but he's not I think he's sneaky effective, and I think you're right that. And this is what I said before. What Rutgers can't do is let Iowa stay on the field and get 7, 8, 9-minute drives, because that will exhaust their defense, and that will be a problem, because then they will be able to run in chunks, 10, 12-yard chunks in the second half. But I Gronowski and Navarro are different style runners. And I'm not sure that's going to be what happens.
I think you're going to get more designed runs for Gronowski than you did for Navarro with Ohio. I think it's going to be a huge point in this game, though. What Gronowski does with his legs, I don't think he's a totally fixed passer yet. I think the UMass game was encouraging. I think he'll be better than he was against Iowa State and Albany, but I don't think it's going to be anything spectacular yet. I still think he has accuracy issues, and I still think he kind of doesn't. I don't want to get into the mechanics of it all, but I still don't think he has the accuracy that he needs. So I am going to pick, and I know you're opposite of me, so Rutgers fans don't get too upset. I am going to pick Iowa to win this one. 27-24 is what I got. I think Gronowski's legs are going to be a huge part, and then I also think that this Iowa defense is going to show up at some point, and they're going to get something, whether it be an interception, something like that, or you're going to see some kind of punt return or something like that. Maybe it's not a touchdown, but it's going to get them a really good field position by Wetjen. Zach, your thoughts? Or your prediction, sorry.
Yeah. Iowa has not faced a receiving core like this. And I think that's the difference in the game. I agree that I think the defensive line, I think that front seven for Iowa is going to cause a couple turnovers. And I think that's going to enable Iowa to get a couple of quick scores. Like I think you get either a field goal and a touchdown, maybe from turnovers. But I just think like Kallie McManus has looked much better. And that receiving core,
he's been much better this season.
And the receiving core, again, people are sleeping on him, and they shouldn't. And I think that at least one big play out of that receiving core to get a quick 7, and then I think they are able to throw the ball consistently throughout the game. And I've got 28-20 Rutgers. Friday night in Piscataway I think it's Friday nights in Piscataway. We saw it against Washington, who I thought Washington was a better team, had better personnel. But Rutgers was able to hang on and win that game. I think Rutgers has better personnel this year. And I think they match up well.
Friday night blackout in Piscataway. The blackout. I'll be wearing my black.
There we go.
My black for the game. I just have a lot of black in my closet. It's not necessarily that I'm, rooting for either. I just have a ton of black. I wear a lot.
That's fair.